Every haunted place has a story with a dark past. This is Ghost Encounters Podcast. Due to the graphic and violent things discussed on this episode, listener discretion is advised. Welcome back, all you spooky people, to the 20th episode of the first season of Ghost Encounters Podcast. I am paranormal investigator Justin Torok.
Oh shit, I didn't think about what I was gonna say. I'm Kayla Bolash, and I'm back!
And I'm Jordan, the group scientist. Killing the people.
Kayla, so happy to have you back.
Thank you.
We missed you on the last one.
I was so sad that I was
We had
not
some
here.
great conversations the last time about
I know, I
demonic
listened.
possessions.
I loved it. It was so good. Although I will say, not being here, I did get to listen to the podcast with like fresh ears, which was kind of nice.
See, that's kind of a different way of listening to it versus being here. And
exactly, because like when we go back and listen to it after we've already recorded it, I'm like, yep, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't really remember saying that, but okay. But the whole podcast was new to me that episode, so it was really cool.
So speaking of the podcast, we have open sponsorship opportunities. So there are ad spots available if anyone wants to sponsor. The sponsorships can range from month to month to the whole year. There's different sponsorship levels, and you can have a longer ad, a shorter ad. I'm very flexible with pricing. You can reach hundreds of people, thousands of people actually at this point, to promote your business, promote yourself, whatever it is. You send us a script, I'll record it, whether it be 30-second, 60-second ad. It'll attach on the podcast episodes, however long you want to do it for. People have already seen some leads come in from sponsoring the podcast, which is great. So if you're interested, email ghostencounterspa@gmail.com, or you can message me on Facebook or Instagram. Also, for our wonderful listeners, if any of you have any ideas for episodes for this podcast, or any places that we should talk about, people we should talk about, or if you just have some kind of general topic that you want us to cover, like remember the one time we did Haunted Ireland or Haunted Vessels, and we all brought different things to the table. If anyone has any ideas or anything you want to hear, email us, message us on Facebook. We'll take those ideas and we will put it into a podcast episode.
Absolutely.
There is also merch if people want to buy Ghost Encounter shirts. We have Ghost Encounter shirts in all sizes. The great thing about these shirts is they're comfortable, but they also glow in the dark. It's really, really cool. So if you want a Ghost Encounter shirt, email me, message me. Kayla.
Yes.
Previously, we were talking about Hank, and he had to undergo some surgery. So he went through his first knee surgery, correct?
He did. He had, it was roughly like 2 or 3 procedures that they ended up doing all at once.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
His knee was completely fused together with his meniscus caught in there, along with a torn CCL, and both of his knees are actually both like that. But the first knee was operated on. We are hitting our 2-week mark tomorrow, and the staples come out, so we are very excited. He finally started walking around.
That's good.
And his personality is definitely starting to come back. So I'm very excited to see my little boy start walking.
But
and
he
enjoying his
needs
life
another
again.
surgery, correct?
He does. He has a second knee surgery coming up in about 6 to 10 weeks, depending on how his healing process goes.
Are you still looking for help for that?
Yes, our GoFundMe is still up. We can put the link in the show notes, and we also have a nonprofit that is raising donations as well. And those donations are all tax deductible, yes. So if you do decide to donate to the organization because of a dog, you can always write that off.
Anyone who's listening, please help out Hank. He's a wonderful, beautiful boy. Could definitely use your help with that last surgery. Email us, or like I said, I'll put the link in the podcast notes.
Absolutely. Anything helps. It's a pretty hefty procedure to do on one knee, let alone 2. So anything that people are willing to donate, just please, it is greatly appreciated, and Hank will post some lovely photos running around when he's all healed.
I can't wait. I love him.
I can't wait to see him run around like a goofball. Oh my God.
I just want to take a moment and thank all of you who listen to the podcast. We wouldn't be at the numbers that we're at today without all of you listening and sharing, so I just want to thank you. I think when we started this, we have now overly quadrupled our amount of listeners, which is awesome. I just want to thank you all for listening, sharing. This episode is a little sad because this episode marks the end of season 1. Can you believe it? We got through 20 episodes. We got through a whole season of this podcast.
How many seasons do we have to get to until we can get like a sound machine? I just think it would be really beneficial, every time something exciting happens. Don't leave me in control of the sound machine.
I'll tell you what, if we can get to 10,000 listeners, I will buy whatever you want.
If you want to hear me add really awful sounds to the podcast, you gotta get us there, please.
So yes, this is the end of season 1. We may or may not take a short break until we start season 2, or we might just get right into it and start season 2. We have big ideas and plans for season 2. We're gonna have a lot more guests and some collaboration ideas. So this last episode of season 1, we've mentioned this place before, so now we're going to do a deep dive into it. We're going to talk about the Amityville Horror. We're not going to talk about the movie or the book. We're going to talk about the actual events that happened in 1974. 30 miles outside of New York City, nestled in the Long Island town of Amityville, stands the house forever linked to the Amityville Horror. It's perhaps one of the most famous haunted houses in America, 112 Ocean Avenue. However, in an attempt to discourage tourists and people from coming to look at the house, one of the newer owners of this place changed the address to 108 Ocean Avenue. I just spoiled it for them.
Public record.
Before we do a deep dive into the story, there might be some people who don't know what happened. I'll just do a quick overview before we get into the details. But on November 13th, 1974, the estate was the scene of a mass murder. Using a .35 Marlin rifle, 23-year-old Ronald J. DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family while they were asleep, which included his parents and 4 siblings. 13 months later, the Lutz family purchased the home at a drastically reduced price of only $80,000 due to the murders, but they only lasted there for 28 days. Their spine-tingling tales of paranormal activity are what propelled the legend of Amityville Horror today and spawned books, documentaries, and films.
So, a house that was $80,000 in 1975 would be $430,000 today.
Which, for a house of this size in that
It's
location,
so
is
cheap.
very cheap.
Yep. Especially in this market.
Yeah, right. So this house has appeared in so many things. Obviously, it was a book first, as these things do. The book came out not too long after this whole paranormal phenomena came about. Jordan, do you know when that book came out?
1977.
1977. So really not too long after this whole incident happened. And then the movie came out only a few years after that. The original 1979, the Amityville Horror movie came out. There have been other movie adaptations. One recently, I think, came out in 2005 with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've actually seen.
It was pretty decent. It was
Yeah.
I
actually a
haven't
pretty
seen the
decent
full
movie.
thing. I've seen like bits and pieces of it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I got to like the bathtub part. Something happens with him in the bathtub. He like, I don't know, almost drowns. I don't remember, but
I can see why you would stop it there.
yeah, I'm like, water, because I was a swimmer. I'm gonna die. That's pretty much why I stopped
I
watching The
drove
Ring.
past the Amityville Horror House once.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. I was seeing a concert in the area, so I asked my friend's dad to drive us by the house, and he was like, why would you want it? I'm like, just drive a car.
That's awesome.
He did it.
But apparently the current owners don't have any problems, right?
Yeah. It's funny that you brought that up, Kayla. My friend at work, her husband's like a super big horror buff. Like the one room, the extra room in their house is dedicated all to horror shit.
Really?
Yeah, like he
I
has,
love it.
and they like get like everything. I wish I had a picture of it. He has like masks and shit on the
That's
wall.
awesome.
He has like
That's
signs,
amazing.
stuff everywhere. It's the coolest room ever. And I turned to her because I knew that they are super into doom and gloom horror shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know anything about Amityville? Because I don't know jack shit. And she was like, I have one thing to tell you. And my friend Nina from work is so fucking funny. And she just goes, we were lost and we were driving down this dirt road. We made a turn and it was like in the middle of nowhere. It's not even like there were cornfields near us. It was like this open, weird ass field. And then we saw a half hanging sign that said Amityville. And you want to know what I did, Jordan? And I said, what? I hightailed the fuck out of there. That's all she told me about Amityville. So that was enough for me to be like, I have to do some research.
Yep.
That's funny.
It's a massive house.
Is it?
It's a big house
big.
on the
Yeah.
lake. Like, it's a beautiful property.
I heard that they like renovated parts of it, like the windows, the token windows. and
Yeah,
all
so
that
those
stuff.
token windows, which makes the house look like it has a face. It's been on the cover of almost every single book and documentary and movie
Oh, really?
that's out
I
there.
don't even know what it looks like. I have to look it up.
Look what picture right now.
That's what it looks like now. It looks very nice. Oh, that looks scary.
Yeah, so that's where
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah. I think they changed those windows out. right?
Yeah, they changed
that's
the
what
windows
it's,
out.
Been updated to.
Yeah, it just
Very
looks like a
beautiful
nice,
now.
Yeah.
lakeside house now.
Well, and
Yeah, it
now I
does.
have in my I did some research, and the people that own it now say that they don't have a single problem there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No ghosts.
Nothing.
Allegedly.
So
All I gotta say is I'm jealous of that balcony.
Oh, it's big. It's like
It's
super
massive.
big. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I didn't realize it was that big.
It doesn't look, because it's like you look at it from the front, or if you look
Yeah.
at it from the side, it's like long
It's like
and
a
skinny.
long, yeah.
But when you look at it from over top, it's wide.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It is
I
a
didn't know it was
large
that big.
home.
let's get into the full story of what happened back in the 70s. Like I said, on November 13th, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald Butch, I guess the nickname, DeFeo Jr., entered a local bar in Amityville and cried out for help, saying that his entire family had been shot. DeFeo and some of the bar patrons returned to DeFeo's house at 112 Ocean Avenue at the time. Once inside, they found the DeFeo's parents, Ronald DeFeo Sr. and Louise DeFeo, dead from an apparent gunshot wound. The police were called, and when they arrived, it was discovered that not only were the DeFeo's parents shot dead, but so were the DeFeo's siblings. Dawn, age 18, Allison, age 13, Mark, age 12, and John Matthew, age 9. Ronald DeFeo Jr. claimed that he knew who the killer was, a mob hitman, he claimed to say. The police, understandably, did not buy into his story and proceeded to interview DeFeo. The interview resulted in numerous inconsistencies, and it quickly became apparent that DeFeo was the prime suspect. By the next day, DeFeo had confessed to the murder, saying, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." When DeFeo went to trial, however, his story had changed, yet again. His lawyers claimed insanity, stating that DeFeo claimed he heard demonic voices urging him to kill his family. The jury didn't find DeFeo's defense believable, and he was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 6 sentences of 25 years to life.
When he was going through this whole thing, he said at one point, he changed up his story and said, the voices told me to kill my family. And then he changed it up to, my sister and 2 of our friends made up a plan that we were going to kill our parents because of blah, 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 blah. And it changed it into, like, the most ridiculous plots.
Right, he just kept changing it
Yeah,
and twisting
or
it.
how Dawn killed the parents, and then he was pissed at her, and then he shot her, and then they had to shoot everybody. It was like crazy. It was just madness.
What I don't understand is how you shoot a rifle in a house in the middle of the night
With no one hearing
and
waking up.
no one wakes up.
They
Like,
were
it's not
all
like,
found in their beds.
Yeah,
like it's
it's
not
not
like
like someone-
anyone was shot in the hallway, like coming
Exactly.
to stop him. They were like, I'm gonna just hang
Yeah,
here.
because I have in my notes that the parents were shot twice, like both were shot twice, and then the kids were all shot by single shots. So how many shots is that? Like, you don't think somebody would be like,
Right.
oh, word, somebody's shooting off firecrackers? Like, you would think like, oh shit, that's a gun.
You think after the first shot, someone would have woken up.
Yeah.
I hear a door close outside, and I'm looking out my window like, it's safe? We good?
I didn't see anything about any, like, I don't know, sleeping aids being put into their meals or anything like that. Like, their hands weren't bound, like they were tied up and then, untied.
It does lead me to believe that a possession of some sort very well could have been the issue, because if one person could be possessed and told to do things, the remaining people could very well be taken over by a spirit as well, and
Right.
who
And he
knows?
didn't have
keep
motive.
them in their bed, anything like I mean, we don't know what spirits are fully capable of. We've seen people be held against their will by spirits before, so it's very possible that they could have somehow kept them in the bedroom or blocked the sounds. Who knows?
I also found out that there's physical evidence that suggested that the mom and one of the daughters were awake at the time of their deaths, which was contrary to the other ones, because they were all found laying face down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is like another thing that we always talk about on this podcast,
That's
like remorse and all that stuff. So
Flipping
like it also
over,
makes me think more of him committing all these murders and then feeling like, wow,
because
I really shouldn't have done that.
Does the whole family sleep face down?
How do you even sleep face down?
I know very minimal people who are belly sleepers, me being one of them. And
yeah,
I find it really hard to believe that a whole family slept like that.
But the blood splatter from the crime scene shows that they were all shot in bed.
Yep.
It's not like you said, it's not like someone was shot in the hallway and he put them in bed. It's they were all shot in bed. So it's a very strange murder because, like we said, how does someone not wake up from a gunshot inside a house? I go to the shooting range. I know what it sounds like in an enclosed room, and that's just a handgun. I can't imagine a rifle in a house.
Yeah, see, I don't know anything about that shit. Sorry.
I can't tell you what a gunshot sounds like, except for the gunshots that I've heard, like, in the streets, but...
Where are you from?
In the streets!
In the streets?
The only gunshots I'm familiar with are the ones that I can hear in the city surrounding where I live.
I've heard, like, the shooting range at Matt's house, like our one friend's old house, where but that's, like, far away. So I can't imagine hearing
and that's outside.
Right next
Exactly.
Right
all
next
the gunshots I've heard are all outside in cities. And like, even then, it's loud as hell, and everyone in the house is like, did you hear that? Like,
right, but imagine a rifle in an enclosed house.
That's just insane. Especially a house that's this old and wooden. The acoustics in that house, let me tell you, have to be crazy.
It's like, reminds me, like, him being the only survivor and the whole entire family being killed. It almost reminds me of, like, Lizzie Borden.
Yes.
Right.
Like, where, like, I mean, she was a little bit smarter and, no, not trying to glorify her killings, but she used, like, an axe.
Yeah.
So that
she had a motive, though.
She did have a motive.
But he doesn't. It's very strange.
I found that there was talk about, after, he said to one of the police officers that after the parents died, and they found all these people dead, he asked about how he would go about getting.
There you go.
That
is there a life insurance policy?
He asked the police what he would do in order to collect his father's life insurance, which prompted the prosecution to suggest his motive was collecting the policies from his parents.
Number one thing to not bring up when your family dies is the life insurance policy, except for maybe like 2.5 weeks later.
You know, it's sketchy for that to be the first thing you say.
Yeah.
Not,
it's like,
how
so
do
he
I go
was
about
worth
burying
money.
my parents?
Not, oh my god, I'm so sad. My whole family's dead. It's
like, where my money at? Well, apparently, I also found out that he was like a drug addict and stuff like that. He had a history with drugs, so that was another thing that flawed his like defense and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we'll never know the full and true story of what happened because, like we said, DeFeo kept changing the details over and over again. And on March 12th, 2021, he took those secrets to the grave. Do we know how he died?
I found that they wouldn't release why he passed. Like, they wouldn't say any health.
That's weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
No, that's really weird because how easy it to say, oh yeah, heart attack, or he was murdered in prison, or, you know, just some kind of health condition. It's very strange that...
It's like not...
Yeah, and he's older at that time. It's not
He was in prison when he died, too, so it's not like... I wonder if, like...
Yeah, the official cause of death has not been released to the public.
That's interesting.
I wonder if he was, like, beaten to death?
Yeah, like, I wonder if it was
to
something
cover
mysterious.
I would think that would have happened shortly while he was in prison, not almost 50 years later.
Yeah.
Jordan, I think you researched a little bit about the court case. Can you tell us, like, what happened?
Yeah, so they found that he was a user of heroin and LSD, and he had antisocial personality disorder, and that he was aware of his actions at the time of the crime. So after they read his, after the judge read what was going to happen to him, they said this was the most heinous murder committed in Suffolk County since its founding. Boom.
Well, I can imagine a whole family was shot dead in their home. It's just...
Well, I mean, like, that's...
Stuff doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah, it's...
Especially in, like, little towns.
So, with the whole gunshot situation, I personally find it really hard to believe that, one, not only people in the house heard the gunshots, but also the neighbors.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've watched the movies, the house is portrayed as this very secluded, remote lake house.
Yeah, it looks like it's this private lake house on a private lake, and there's, like, no one around.
It's in a residential, like, kind of development-like area. It's
right.
a main street
it just
kind
looks
of
like
situation.
A suburb.
Yeah, it has neighbors all around it. A lot of the buildings that are around it are older, and they have now been turned into a lot of like law offices and private businesses and stuff.
But they were residents at
They
one
were
point.
residential properties prior to that, so clearly people were living close to the house. It's not like these are all new construction or anything. Right. These houses have all been standing there.
Which is strange because in all these reports, I don't hear anything from neighbors saying that they heard gunshots.
Nope.
Like, I can hear a handgun half a mile away.
Exactly.
How are they not going to hear a rifle next door?
The police investigation concluded that there was no fitted sound suppressor found or used.
On the rifle?
Yep.
See that?
It's super weird, which leads me to think maybe a possession type situation could have been the problem, but also how did a bullet come out of that gun for each person without a noise?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Weird.
That's like the
strangest
hardest part for
of
me.
This whole murder.
Like, I can easily say, oh yeah, demonic possession, haunting kind of situation, or someone who hated his father, because we do know that he had an awful relationship with his father.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, how did nobody hear a gunshot regardless of what caused the shooting?
Not demonic
I didn't see anything, but yeah, we kind of tore apart. Not really tore apart, but we kind of gave medical evidence to what demonic possessions could be.
People believe, people
in
don't.
A human.
It is what it is.
But we didn't get into places or houses being possessed.
No.
We didn't get into that. Jordan's rolling her eyes.
I have it in my notes, rolls eyes. When we get to the next stories, you'll see it, Kayla, because you have them. But I literally say, when we hit Ed and Lorraine, I'm just like, butchering my notes.
Butchering.
So before we get there, I wish
them.
they would have done did they do any kind of psych evaluation on this guy?
Yeah, I said earlier that they found out that
He was using drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, they said that he had antisocial personality disorder, which really isn't like...
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's the only thing that they found. So apparently when they did their psych evaluation, they came up with this.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal
Bullshit
to have that.
disorder.
It doesn't make you kill people.
Yeah.
You know? Did anyone else find anything interesting about the court case?
Well, I have that Butch did try to overturn his sentencing, and Judge Stark shot down that motion very quickly. And I'm going to read the quote from him directly because I think it's just the best way to sum it all up. So Judge Stark said, "I find the testimony of the defendant overall to be false and fabricated. His testimony that during the fall of 1974 he was married and lived with his wife and child at Long Branch, New Jersey is incredible and not worthy of belief. He produced no corroborating evidence in this regard. Another reason for my disbelief of the defendant's testimony is demonstrated by consideration of several portions of the trial testimony. He signed a lengthy written statement describing in detail his activities. In this statement, he said that he lived with his family at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, and that he worked for his father, that he usually went to and from work with his father, who was ill, and stayed home from work on November 12th, 1974, that he was on probation for having stolen an outboard engine and had an appointment to see his probation officer in Amityville on that afternoon. The defendant's girlfriend, Mindy Weiss, testified that she began dating the defendant in June of 1974 and was with him frequently that summer and fall." The judge did also go on to state that he believes that he was completely lying about saying he was possessed or anything of that nature, and that he fully does believe that he just carried out these crimes and
He knew exactly what he was doing.
He's a monster. He shot everybody, and he does not believe any other scenario could have been what actually happened because the evidence just doesn't back it up.
Right. Well, good for you, Judge. So this is the story and events that has caused this house to become haunted, and when we get back from our break, we're going to find out about the Amityville Horror after the Lutz family moves in. Ghost Encounters Podcast is sponsored by Phoenix Fire Media. Bring the heat to your online presence with their digital marketing experts, professional photography, and video productions. Visit phoenixfiremedia.com. If you're enjoying Ghost Encounters Podcast, hit subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Ghost Encounters PA. To watch full episodes of the Ghost Encounters show, visit ghost-encounters.com. All right, we are back. Let's get into the story that brought about the Amityville Horror. So we spoke about the murders that happened that caused the house to be haunted. In December 1975, George and Kathleen Lutz bought the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. George and Kathy were made aware of the murders and even bought the house with some of the DeFeo's furniture still inside. Did they have to pay for that?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was $400.
That's not too bad. But I wouldn't keep furniture where people were murdered.
Yeah, why would
I also just don't want other people's furniture.
Like, what happens if that was like a spot where some of the
Right.
scene happened?
Like, I hope
Like,
they
I
didn't
feel
keep
like
the beds.
maybe a TV stand, a dining room table, but like, I don't want the sofa that you sat in
No.
with your whole family
Yeah.
all the time, especially now that you were all murdered. Like, I don't want anyone's used sofa,
No.
to be honest. But like, specifically,
a
dead
murder
people's
house.
used sofa is where I'm gonna have to draw the line.
Like, that's just a little weird.
But then, like, you talk, that stuff reminds me of, like, haunted objects and shit like
Exactly.
that.
yeah,
Like,
where
haunted
ghosts
collector.
attach themselves to...
Like a Dybbuk
Objects.
box kind of thing. Yeah, like
Yeah.
things will attach,
Exactly.
and you don't want to mess with them.
Regardless, the couple moved into the home with the 3 children from Kathy's previous marriage. Daniel, age 9, Christopher, age 7, and Melissa, age 5. Now, this 4,000 square foot house was a steal because it was a property where people were murdered, as we said. It had waterfront access to the little lake. There was a boathouse, a heated swimming pool, garage, and full basement.
It's insane.
wow.
It's a decent property.
Yeah, it is.
But the family's stay would be very short-lived, lasting a mere 28 days in that month. The family allegedly experienced awful paranormal activity, such as green slime oozing from the walls and demonic pigs lurking about. I never heard that before.
Demonic pigs.
How do you know the pig is demonic? I feel like pigs are just assholes.
Maybe it's aggressive and has red eyes.
I don't know.
Why are there pigs in Amityville?
In the middle of Long Island, like
Yeah, like, where would the pigs come from? Just because of it being maybe, like, satanic? Like, if they think that it has to do with Satan, would that be
Maybe.
a piggy thing? I don't know. Usually it's like a goat thing.
yeah,
not-
it's always
Right.
like a goat
Not-
like a goat.
situation. Yeah.
Well, maybe they ran out of goats.
They were out of goats
Decided
that day.
They want to do something different.
Yeah.
Additionally, they reported seeing eyes peering in from the outside, hearing untraceable noises, and smelling weird and pervasive odors. And Kathleen apparently levitated in bed, and George woke up at 3:15 a.m. each day, the same time of the murders.
All right. I wake up at like 2:35 almost every night.
I'm
Do
strong
I
136. Yep.
think it has to be demonic? No, it's just my body's messed up and thinks that that's the time to wake up.
Yep.
But it is a little strange that this dude who doesn't wake up at that time is waking up at the exact same time of the murders. I remember watching these scenes in the one with Ryan Reynolds, and it was kind of like making him really distraught that he just keeps waking up at this exact same time. And
I mean, it is pretty
would be
annoying
freaky.
to wake
Yeah.
up at the wrong time every single day. But I think if I was also waking up at the same time that people were killed in the house that I'm living in, I would also be like,
right,
fuck no.
Yeah, yeah.
This is not okay.
Yeah, I
Any
hear ya.
other time.
Yeah, when you think of it that way.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm like, even if it wasn't something, like if it just happened to be the time that his body rudely woke
Right.
him up, like most
or
adults
if it was
have.
like once in a while, you
but
gotta pee
the
or something,
fact
you know.
that
But
it's the same time, I'd be like,
something's wrong.
clear out the house, we gotta go.
Yeah.
As early as 2006, George had an interview with ABC News. He said, "There were odors in the house that came and went. There were sounds. The front door would slam shut in the middle of the night, and he couldn't get warm in the house for many days." Now, yes, it's December, but this was also in that Amityville movie where Ryan Reynolds he couldn't get warm.
Yeah.
He constantly felt cold. He'd be in like 3 sweaters by the fireplace and still could not get warm. Like as if this house had some sort of dark, cold cloud hanging overhead and everything was cold.
Is it a cloud hanging over the house, or was it a spirit possessing someone's body and not allowing them to be warm?
Who knows?
That's what I kind of wonder. Because, I mean, like, a fireplace is gonna throw heat. Like, no matter what, it's going to throw heat.
Yeah.
But if you can't get warm, I'm wondering if it's more of a something preventing you from being warm and not so much the air around you. Which
knows?
is even scarier if potentially Butch was possessed
Right.
and caused him to do something,
And now-
I'd be
and now
upset
here's-
if my body was doing things without my permission in the same house.
And now here's George. Something's going on with him. I think in the movies they kind of made it seem like George was becoming possessed by the same entity.
Yeah.
Or by,
And I remember in the
DeFeo
movie
himself.
they made it like a whole thing that he was like reading books on like the occult and everything too,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not sure if that was ever like corroborated at all.
So actually, I think one of the sons said that George was very into the occult,
Okay. I mean,
which
I
made
don't
their
mess with that shit.
story less believable.
Yeah.
This whole thing sounds like a reach.
I mean, when
It's a full
it's just like
reach.
kind of one thing after another that's like, oh yeah, that'll sound real.
Right.
That would sound real, right?
Right.
If we did that, that would sound like,
Well, now
I mean,
they did ask a priest to bless their home, and apparently one of these spirits actually slapped the holy man and told him to get out, and that's when the Lutzes decided to get the hell out of that house.
seems fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now is when we hear about Ed and Lorraine Warren investigating Amityville Horror. A lot of people don't know that. They were the first paranormal investigators to investigate the Amityville Horror House.
There's another guy that was called in to investigate as well. I found Dr. Kaplan.
Yes.
He's a self-styled vampirologist. Is that how you pronounce it?
Vampirologist. Interesting.
And ghost hunter. He went in and investigated, but he told the Lutzes that if he found any hogwash, he was going to basically say,
Right.
I'm going to tell the world, if you're lying.
Right.
So this led to apparently a big falling out between the two of them, which I don't understand why they would be pissed that he would say that, because
If it was real.
Right.
if it's real, what do you have to hide?
Yeah.
But he did go on and write a critical book titled The Amityville Horror Conspiracy, along with his wife, and the book was actually published in 1995.
Yeah.
Makes me want to read
As
it.
soon as this family came out with the paranormal happenings that were going on here, there's very mixed. I mean, it made like national headlines. Of
It's the
what was
green
going
slime for me.
On. Yeah. I've
That's
never
the
heard
one that I'm
before.
like, no fucking way.
But people were
What
very
is it, The
torn as
Shining?
into, people kept saying, they're lying, it's a hoax, they're just trying to get money, and then other people were believing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I go back and
don't
forth on it.
see how just coming open about a paranormal experience makes anyone money. Like, that
No.
doesn't- You don't just make money because you're on the news.
Nope.
It doesn't
But your
happen like
first
that.
thing you do is trademark the Amityville Horror.
Oh, so when did that happen?
So in my research, I found out that he registered the phrase "the Amityville Horror" as a trademark in 2002, and it's actually on his official website, the Amityville Horror, the little TM at the top.
Oh, he has a website.
Yeah, well,
Well, I mean, I could see that, like, after a book is written, after
Yeah.
a movie comes out, you want to collect the money that's going on based on your family story, But in the first couple of years, because this happened in 1975, what money do you have to make by fabricating a
and
paranormal
that's
story?
why I think that's the strongest reason that I go so back and forth on this one is
Yeah.
because originally when they started coming out, they weren't jumping to these like, there's slime coming down our walls, we're levitating. It was more minor things, weird noises, weird
Yeah.
smells, eyes. I mean, the pigs is a little out there.
Yeah.
But their reports did start as more like, we think this house is haunted, it's
Yeah.
alarming. And it progressed into
It
the
did.
like huge, our house is oozing blood and there are pigs trying to kill us. And it's like,
Maybe George liked
maybe-
the attention and started fabricating.
I think that's exactly what it was. I think it probably did start as a real kind of possession, something of that nature.
Just like a kind of like a regular haunting.
Yeah, just more of a regular haunting. I don't think it really affected them. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but I feel like
I mean,
it
they
probably
left,
didn't
but-
affect them too much at first, and they were like, well, maybe we should say something. Like, the killing could have
Yeah.
caused ghosts. Who knows? And then they realized, oh, we could be on talk shows, we could have movies, we could have book deals. Let me tell you more about this house.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like, well, why are you still living there? And they were like, you're right, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Like,
I have also that he claimed that the film producers fabricated the events in like the remakes. And he also claimed that the producers of the 2005 film did not involve his family in any production, and like they didn't ask for his permission for like using names and everything. So maybe that's why he did a trademark, to try to get something out of it after, or like knowing that the movie was going to be coming out and knowing that he wasn't going to get anything out of it.
He wanted the attention. They weren't collaborating with him at all.
Yeah.
It's public knowledge. It's in newspapers. There's already documentaries. There's a book. You don't need permission to use this stuff.
Exactly.
Well, they definitely felt entitled, because eventually, as we'll go on, I'll be able to explain that they tried to sue a fuck ton of people.
Oh, jeez. We're getting into that, but 2 months after the Lutz family moved out, a local TV crew did a segment on the house, and they brought in Ed and Lorraine Warren. Now, I admire Ed and Lorraine Warren very much. They were very well liked, known. They investigated some very well-known places. Yes, they were, religious and believed in heaven and hell and all that. But they were kind of like the first paranormal investigators. I mean, they actually founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, one of the oldest ghost hunting groups in New England. They never charged a cent for anything they did. They did everything purely out of the kindness of their heart. Jordan is rolling her eyes and raising her hand. I know Jordan doesn't like the Warrens.
I just want to know their credibility. What made them credible for this specific haunting? Like, where did they come from? Where did we find them? Tell me all about it, because I just don't...
By this point, they were very well known as being paranormal investigators, and Lorraine being a clairvoyant.
In the 70s?
Okay.
Yes.
They were known. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They were very well known. They've been on multiple interviews on different TV stations. People knew the stories that were going on, so they were very well known at this point. They were kind of like the only ones doing it.
Okay.
You know? Nowadays, like, I wouldn't say I'm a dime a dozen, but there's a bunch of different research places in every state. There's a bunch of different paranormal investigators. They were kind of like the only ones doing it and the most well-known.
Okay. Makes sense.
Like, and did she have, what did you call her?
Clairvoyant.
What does that mean?
Okay, it says that clairvoyant is more able to, read things based on an object, person, location, or physical event.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas a medium kind of hears things happening around them, like spirits kind of situation.
Right, so a medium kind of hears spirits around them, can like start talking to you and asking you questions.
And be like,
start,
so-and-so.
Start getting a sense of
like, did you have a grandfather that died? And it's like, here we go again. Whereas
there's a lot of those that are like fabricated.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Eric's medium abilities are spot
insane.
on.
It's
crazy. I think the medium thing is more like they start getting to know you, and they start sensing your loved one that has passed.
Yeah, because I was literally just talking to my friends at work, because some people have asked where he's been, and I was like going off on a tangent about like how like at one point, Justin, as my witness, I didn't believe in that stuff. I thought it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
And not knowing him, and by the third time we had a podcast together, we basically bombarded him and said, yo, tell me what's good. Like, I want to know. Like, tell me my shit. Like, I just want to see what you're about. And he told and said some shit that literally just shook me to my being.
Yep.
And that's how I am. I have to see it. I have to be there present for it, or I don't fucking believe it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
But a clairvoyant is more like they can walk into a house or touch an object and know exactly the trauma that happened. A clairvoyant can touch you and see memories and can feel your trauma, kind of thing.
Interesting. See, I don't know any of that stuff, because I don't really like go into depth.
And quote directly from Lorraine, she said, the very first night that Ed and I went into that home, I was fearful, but I didn't know what I was fearful of. So she kind of, as soon as she walks into this house, she has this sense of fear, but she didn't know yet why.
Okay.
She also said, as I was going up the stairs, I reached a point where it felt as if a force of water was coming against my chest, almost like a waterfall. It was the worst feeling. I stopped on the landing and held tight to the relic that was in my hand, and as for strength and direction going forward, it felt ominous to me. She was holding like a rosary or some kind of, sacred object.
I figured
they were, very religious.
Figured that.
She also said in this interview, Amityville was horrible, honey. It was absolutely horrible. It followed us right straight across the country. I don't even like to talk about it. I will never go to the Amityville house ever again. You don't know how long my career is. That's the only one.
Wow.
So she would never go back. So this one definitely, out of
This
all
over
the things...
the last thing we talked about where they went to see the demonic kid or whatever? That house? The demonic kid? You're not scared of that, but you're scared of this house?
She was terrified of Amityville for some reason.
Wow.
The most well-known and best paranormal photo was taken inside this house during the Warrens' investigation. It was in 1976, and it features what appears to be a young boy with white eyes who is peeking out of a doorway by the railing. The image was captured by Gene Campbell, a professional photographer who was part of the team who worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren. Gene had set up an automatic camera that took infrared pictures to capture the second floor landing during the night. Equipped with black and white film, his camera captured this Amityville ghost boy photo that some have speculated to be the ghost of the murdered child, John DeFeo. Look at this photo. This photo is going to be on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, because I'm obsessed with this photo. It's the most. It is the best paranormal photo ever taken. If you look at this, they did a side by side of John and the face of the ghost boy, and they look very similar. I mean, it's a black and white film taken in the 70s, but it's the nose is.
I think it looks like it could be
It's-
the kid.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
I don't think it looks
Jordan has to
exactly like
experience for
him,
herself.
but
Or,
I think
her to
it does
believe
look a
things.
little similar.
There's another thing that I found while I was doing research that made me shoot off a big old red flag. So my question is, why did the photograph not come out as soon as they took it? Why did they wait so and so many years to show it on a TV show?
I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't sit with
Because
me.
I found in my research, the photograph did not emerge into the public domain until 1979, when George and Kathy Lutz and another person appeared on the Mary Griffin Show to promote the release of the first film. To me, when you do shit like that, it seems like bullshit.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it looks like you gain publicity for the film. Like it doesn't hold a candle to what I need as a skeptic or as somebody like looking in and seeing this.
Right.
Like I need more.
That's fair.
I need more.
I don't know. I think it's just too spooky that I don't even want to like.
It's so damn clear. Like it's just
that. It is
such
a very
clear
photo.
picture.
Yeah.
Like
It is proven to be taken during the investigation
Wow.
and by the professional photographer that they were working with.
Okay.
The Warrens didn't do what I do, which is make a TV episode out of investigation.
Yeah.
They didn't take their evidence and blast it across the world. I mean, the internet didn't exist yet. There's no way to do that. But they didn't do this for publicity. They didn't do this for money. They didn't take a cent. They did it because they thought that's what they
People
thought
deserve
that's
to know.
why they were put here on this earth, was to do this. And
well, in my opinion, that's the only good thing I have to say about this. Because kudos to them. It's amazing that they're trying to help people.
Yeah.
So, but some of the shit that goes along with them, it's like
well,
they're
I'm
holding the angel and the devil. One's the fake and the good stuff. It's just like it's hard for me. I'm like right in the middle. I can't figure them the fuck out. And
My
it
hardest
bothers
part
me.
with them is that like I think everyone knows that I'm not religious, and for me they make so many of like the possessions and everything a religious thing, which I don't know if I fully believe that like religion has anything to do with spirits, but
which was
also I don't
kind
know
of
that
what we talked
much.
about in the last episode,
Yeah.
which I wish you were there for. 'Cause
Yes,
I was
I
like,
know.
Kayla would be so awesome right now because she
Me
has
going on
these
my
views that we
religion
don't
tangents,
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's like my only issue that I find with the Warrens ever is that I can't fully be like, yeah, I like them because they always want to make it a religious thing. And I'm like, I think spirits are just fucking assholes sometimes. And I
They
don't
are.
think it has to do with heaven or hell. I
Yeah.
think it's someone that's like, I'm going to be a dick while I'm dead and you
Right.
can't do shit
I
about
say
it.
that all the time. Like people, like we watch these shows, these ghost shows together, me and
Mm-hmm.
Justin, and I'll be sitting there and like we'll be like super into it. The house is completely like quiet, and they'll be like, "If you're here, throw something." And I would turn to Justin and be like, "I'm throwing a whole fucking pot at somebody."
Honestly,
like,
like,
someone's
I'd do
getting
some
clocked.
like a sofa across the room, and it's like, hold on,
that ghost.
It could have been a tissue box.
So let me explain that part of it a little bit.
Yes, please.
Explain for us people here.
As a paranormal investigator, this question comes out a lot. If I were going to haunt, I'd be throwing shit left and right. Yeah. Right? Okay.
But you don't have the energy to do it.
Is that okay?
It's going to go into that. Not all spirits are on this earth all the time. What I have found is that
they're not like charged.
Usually traumatic or bad deaths or trauma is what keeps these spirits locked in our realm, if you will.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why else would you be stuck here?
Technically, our soul is considered to be energy. Mm-hmm. Energy cannot be destroyed.
Okay.
Right?
That is a law of science.
It is.
Let me just say.
It is.
Science.
So it's speculated that ghosts are pure forms of energy.
Okay.
And they need energy in order to do things such as manifest or move things. If they do not have enough energy to do that, they have to maintain their energy to just maintain being a spirit. Otherwise, most likely, that energy will be used and they will not be a spirit anymore. So they need a decent amount of energy to move things, to manifest.
Okay.
Look at how
that's
passionate
why
you are. You're a professional.
Damn, my mom's ghosts were lazy as hell because all they ever did was move the bed. Like roll over.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm sure it was the spirits moving the bed.
No, I was home alone. I'd like to preface, I was home alone.
Okay.
Very home alone. And there was a lot of noises in the bed happening, and there's no one else there. So.
But this goes into why paranormal investigators feel drained sometimes, is because they are using the person's presence, theirs, energy.
That makes so much more sense.
Things. That's why full batteries will suddenly just drain to zero. I've witnessed that happen in front of me.
Okay,
Fully charged, brand new batteries will just drop to zero, and there's no explanation for it. And it's because they are using energy from the stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, okay, let me take some of that battery.
Be like, I don't think you really need this. I need this more than you. You don't understand. I can't move without it.
Yeah. And so then we can go into, our orbs reel. And I would say more times than not, I'm telling people that the thing that they have captured in a photograph is dust, a bug, something like that.
I've seen one in real life.
But there are ones that look very different. They're going to be colored.
Yeah,
They're going to look very spherical and not necessarily flat, right? Because it's not going to be that disturbance of, dust going in front of the camera and the focus, everything like that. You're going to see a spherical thing. You're going to see dimensions. You're going to see colors.
Was that a Weaversville that I saw one?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, is there a flash of light over there?
Yes.
Did anybody see that
you
or
saw
something?
it right in person.
Yep.
It is said that a sphere is just a very basic shape. You don't need much energy to
that would
create. So that's kind of how.
Makes sense why the orbs.
Right. That's kind of how things can start, and then if they get enough energy, they can slowly start to manifest into a partial apparition, and if they get more energy, a full-bodied apparition.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you explained that really well. I think the law is the law of thermodynamics. I want to say, I'm not fully sure, but energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Right.
Yeah,
it can only be
transferred.
Yeah. It can only be put into something else. That energy cannot be destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
But going back to the Warrens, so there was actually an interview done with the reporter that was there at the time.
Oh, cool.
And they asked her what was the experience like when you went into the Amityville house with Ed and Lorraine Warren. She said, I recall Lorraine didn't know whose room was whose, but when she walked into Ronald Jr.'s bedroom, I was right behind her and she stopped right at the door, still. And she backed out and says, I can't go in this room. There's just too much evil, too much oppression here. And I remember at a certain point on the stairs, the second floor landing, she also got a headache. And then she also says, our cameraman, he got called in to do this last minute. So my point was he didn't know anything pretty much about this house. And he went up the stairs with his light meter, and he got halfway up the first flight of stairs, and he turned around and looked at me with almost quizzical look on his face and says, there's a room on the second floor. It's the second bedroom, the second door on the right, and one wall is filled with mirrors. And he says, and I don't know how I know that. Again, that was the master bedroom. obviously where the DeFeos were murdered. So this camera guy goes in, he gets halfway up the stairs, and he just like starts looking puzzled.
I don't like it.
All of a sudden, he just knows that there's a bedroom on the second floor. He knows exactly where it is, and that the one wall's filled with mirrors.
That's creepy.
Weird, right? And
Well,
this camera guy was asked to do this last minute. He was just, I guess someone else may have backed out or something, and he had to fill the spot.
Isn't it a thing when you have like two mirrors facing you, like
Portal
towards your
or
bed?
something.
Yeah, portal. Isn't that a thing? Paige
I've heard
told
of
me
that.
about that before, and she covered up because I had my vanity in my bedroom, and then there's the big armoire where it has like the big window. I mean,
Yeah.
the big mirror, and she literally covered up the one mirror with pillows because she's like, it's a portal. Demons are gonna get. Like, she got really freaked out from it. So that's weird that they have a whole wall
Yeah,
of.
but more happened to the cameraman. She says, and he continues up the stairs, and he turns around. I was at the bottom of the stairs looking up at him, and I see the color drain from his face. And he clutches his chest and doubles over, at which point our sound guy and the lighting guy ran upstairs to get him back downstairs to, sit and get him some water, because he really didn't look good. I remember taking his pulse, and you can see it was pretty rapid. He goes, I just had heart palpitations. I just felt this heaviness. I've never felt anything like this. That was scary.
See, and now it's things like that brings me back to like.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
this, I
say
know
I
how the
wanna-
news can be. They can be biased, and they
Yep.
are probably thinking, oh, we're probably not going to get anything.
I say
Exactly.
I gotta see it to believe it.
And
if
now
I
they're
go-
feeling stuff and seeing
and
stuff.
If I go to some place and that shit happens to me, I believe that it's scary. It's a
Yup.
haunted ass place. I'll believe it then. Like, I just
Right.
need something like that in my life.
Yeah.
Not that I want to die, but another thing that I found was really interesting was that there was another investigator that came in, a parapsychologist named Hans Holzer.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah,
he has that show. What's the name of the show?
Holzer Files. My sister and my mother love that show. They swear by this guy. But I guess the both of them suggested the same thing, that the house is occupied by a malevolent spirit due to its history. What fucking history? I don't know. But also, this whole visit was depicted in the film The Conjuring 2 in 2016. That was another thing I found.
Yeah, in Conjuring 2.
Which I've never seen.
There was a small scene with Lorraine, with Ed and Lorraine at the Amityville Horror House. And Lorraine goes into one of her clairvoyant trances and sees something awful, and she was terrified of that house always
Oh,
throughout her
okay.
whole life.
So they think this place is haunted just because of the guy that killed the people there, his family there.
From
Is
what
that
I gather,
is that the history?
Yes, from what
That's
I gather.
it. Just that one traumatic experience.
Yeah, I mean, but you, of all people, know. I mean, you've been on things with me. Yeah, all it takes is one awful traumatic experience to make a place haunted.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I'm
Spirits
just
don't
saying.
want to
it's-
leave, especially if something bad happened.
Yeah, but what is interesting though is that obviously Ronald is not dead at this point, so his evil spirit's not there.
Yeah, like
So they
Yeah.
keep saying that something is evil in this house. Could it be some kind of evil entity that caused...
Possesses people?
I don't know about possesses, but maybe I have seen and heard stories directly from people, one of which I've helped, and she'll be on the podcast season 2, where she had an evil entity in her house, and it just caused everyone in the household to be extremely angry
Interesting.
all the time with each other, depressed, and as soon as they left the house, they felt fine.
yeah, like I
You know?
definitely
I-
believe in that. Like I believe that there can be truly negative spirits. Not that I think it's demonic, not that I think it's anything like that,
Yeah.
but I do
Yeah.
believe that there is negative energy at places. I tell Justin all the time when I feel like something's a little weird, or I'll tell him straight up if people think it's weird, I don't feel anything weird, because sometimes I feel sensitive to those things. In past and present situations, I've definitely felt some sort of sensitivity towards things. So I do agree that negativity is a thing.
Absolutely.
It's there.
And
There's no escaping
it could take a hold on a single person and make that person go completely insane, angry.
But where did it come from? Where did the negativity come from that would have taken him?
So there were a lot of rumors about this house. One of which is like that it was built on like a Indian burial ground.
Rejected. I have that.
Yeah.
And that was rejected.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they said no to that one.
In the movies, they depict like, I think one of the movies goes back to the whole Native American thing. Another movie says that like it was previously lived in by like an occult person and all kinds of stuff. We will never know.
Nope.
We will never know why. We will never know the true story.
Which
One
sucks.
thing I can say is this house probably was at some point haunted. But I do believe that the Lutz's family did fabricate things over time.
Yeah.
They definitely did try to make money off of this. Not right away.
Nope.
Obviously, but you see later down the years more fabrication and them being more involved in movies and stuff comes about. So they definitely made some money on this.
Yeah. Which is like unfortunate because like for people that really like there's some stories out there where people are really struggling and they're so desperate to get rid of spirits in their house and all that stuff, and then you have people that come out and they're just like, oh, Flubber came into my house and strolled down the wall, you know, like, and you just feel like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, don't ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, just say what happened there, we'll get help and we'll move on and everybody's gonna be good. But instead you want to make things more dramatic for a story, which is stupid in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd rather have the real story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody would. So,
yeah.
I don't know why money-hungry people gotta be crazy. Like, you don't need to do all that.
They're hungry. They see an opportunity and they run with it.
I found some interesting information just about the residents, like, and the stories and everything like that. Actually, like, the local residents were unhappy with all the, like, attention that it got.
I'm sure.
They tend to decline requests to discuss it. The website of the Amityville Historical Society makes no mention of the murders by Ronald DeFeo.
Yeah, it should. That's the...
In 1974, or the period that the Lutz family lived there.
They just try to erase it from history.
That was crazy. Yeah. So
you can't
and
just
also
erase things from history.
Yeah, and it says when the History Channel made its documentary about the Amityville Horror in 2000, no member of the Historical Society would discuss this whole thing on camera, which I thought to be really weird.
That is really weird.
Like, why are you guys out against it?
It's so wild.
Just talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Obviously,
it's just like clearly someone's trying to hide something.
Yeah, they won't talk. We don't know why Ronald Jr. died in prison. We don't know why no one heard any gunshots.
Sketchy.
There are some very weird things with this case.
Mm-hmm.
Very weird things that cannot be explained.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that some of the things that they said were just completely fabricated
Mm-hmm.
and things have been twisted throughout the years. And
I mean, even George himself quoted that the book that was written was mostly true. So I mean, that
true.
in and
Not
of itself is a
entirely
little
true,
bit
mostly
of
true.
a like confession, like maybe
Now, that stuff happens,
I
though.
stretched
I mean,
the truth.
I can't-
Maybe
how
it's
many,
not all right.
How many books and
Exactly.
movies are 100% true?
Exactly.
Not many. It has to be
There's always
done
a
in a certain way to
Yeah.
get
Yep.
There's always
readers
a
and
discrepancy.
viewers. you
Yeah.
know.
I do have some other fun information that the house was placed on the market just recently in 2010, and the asking price was $1.15 million.
Whoa, big difference from
God
$80,000.
Yes. And in August of 2010, the house was sold to a local resident for $950,000.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the property is also like all the records are pretty much sealed on it as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You
Something
can't even
like
get
that
a
happens,
you
yeah.
can't even get a Google Maps photo of a street view of the house. Whoever
blurred
owns
out.
it has it completely shut down.
And before it got sold, the departing owner held a moving sale at the house, and hundreds of people turned up. They were allowed to go inside, but they were not allowed to go visit the upstairs rooms or the basement, which
Right.
we know is some of the craziest spots in the house.
Yeah.
Which makes sense that they wouldn't want the general public in that.
Yeah,
You're
like
probably going to have hundreds of people waltzing through his house just because they want to see it.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine if there is an awful spirit in there? He's like, let me show you what I could do with all these people.
Right, or if someone else is bringing something in.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, that's pretty much the story of the Amityville Horror. Like we said, obviously, a lot of the things were fabricated, but there are some really strange things with this case.
Absolutely.
Very, very strange that cannot be explained. Before we go, I just want to thank all of our listeners again so much for listening, sharing. It's been very rewarding to hear a lot of people's wonderful feedback, to just be walking around. Jordan, you went to your dentist's office, and all of a sudden your dentist's office is listening to the whole podcast. It's great to, be recognized, and people, that I don't even know listen to us.
Exactly. It's just like, it's kind of like a bonding kind of thing. Like, we don't know you, you don't really know us, but like, we spend time together, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
We spend time in your ears.
Exactly.
And even though we all may not agree, we still are all here for some ghosty shit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
We want to hear about the ghosts.
Exactly. We're just here to present our research findings, our opinions.
Yep.
Have some fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, these stories are really cool, whether you believe or not.
Exactly. I think that's the really awesome thing, is whether like you fully believe in anything, especially for Amityville that happened, like at the end of the day, it's cool to listen to.
Yeah, it's
still
still a cool place to learn about. Like, whether, like me, I say skeptic shit and all that stuff, but if I believe in haunted houses, like, if I'm gonna go somewhere and I'm gonna be hearing about this stuff, okay, when the shit's gonna happen? Like, I'm still shit makes me on edge. Like, I'm gonna go home tonight, I gotta wake up at 3 a.m. I'm gonna be like down with the demons as I'm walking out the house.
Down with the demons!
Get like freaked out. So like, it's just a good topic.
Yeah.
Amityville. It's just fun to talk about.
It is.
Yeah.
But again, thank you all so much for listening. This wraps up season 1.
Season 1.
Oh my god.
It's over.
I think this is a really good one to end it with.
Yeah,
I think
it was.
so too.
Yeah.
We're going to be back with season 2 full force. We have some really great ideas coming up. But again, if you have any ideas or want us to research and talk about places, email us, message us. Again, sponsorships are open. Anyone who wants to buy some really good sponsorship spots on the podcast, reach out to us. We'll scare you next time. Stay spooky.
See you next season.
And make sure to come back for the next episode.